when I came back, I got a beneficiary letter, and it said Denzel Washington paid for you. You know, and I was like, what?
That's what I did.
Many of you already know the story that Mr. Washington, when asked by Phylicia Rashad to join her in assisting 9 theater students from Howard University who had been accepted to a summer acting program at the British Academy of Dramatic Acting in Oxford, he gracefully and privately agreed to contribute.
There's a saying, when the devil ignores you, then you know you're doing something wrong.
Boseman inspiring millions with his roles, making 7 movies while quietly undergoing surgeries and chemotherapy treatments.
Chadwick Boseman and Denzel Washington were destined to meet on their paths to success. Chadwick openly shared how important Denzel was in his life and career, thanking him in a cool and sincere way. Denzel, on the other hand, sees himself as just a part of a bigger story. But let's dig deeper into this story, shall we? But of course, before we go any further, make sure first that you subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell for more updates and videos like this. Now let's get going. Over the years, the entertainment world has seen many tragedies, with celebrities passing away under mysterious circumstances. Many of these stars were struggling privately, while the whole world thought their lives were as glamorous as they appeared on the red carpet. Sadly, this wasn't true for many, including Chadwick Boseman, who became an icon for the Black community and beyond even before his demise.
Actor Chadwick Boseman died at the age of 43 following a private 4-year battle with colon cancer.
Boseman had many friends in Hollywood, but one of his closest and least talked about relationships was with Denzel Washington. Boseman called Denzel the coolest actor ever and a father figure in the industry. This became clear when Boseman's heartfelt speeches about Denzel started circulating on social media, touching many listeners who admired Boseman's deep respect for Denzel. It wasn't one-sided either. Denzel, known for his role in The Equalizer, showed his emotions when his former protege spoke about him publicly. This exchange sparked various reactions from the public, with some finding it touching and others thinking Denzel's response was delayed. But one thing is certain, Boseman's public life only gave a glimpse of who he really was and the challenges he faced while navigating the entertainment industry. Almost everyone knows the story of Chadwick Boseman's rise to fame in Hollywood. From his amazing performances in Marvel's Avengers to leading his own superhero movies, Boseman had a rapid climb to the top. However, his big break came later in his career than many realize. People often think his success in Marvel movies meant he had always been successful. But that wasn't true. He faced many challenges and setbacks before getting recognized in superhero films.
He did all he could do with what he was given, and he left it here for us to enjoy. Chad will live.
Boseman's journey was significantly helped by Denzel Washington's generosity, a fact Boseman himself confirmed. Despite Denzel's fame and fortune, he is known for supporting other talents in Hollywood. We don't often hear about Denzel Washington's generosity because he prefers to keep it private. However, Chadwick Boseman was determined to make sure Washington's kindness was recognized. At the AFI Lifetime Achievement event in 2019, Boseman gave a heartfelt speech honoring Washington. He revealed that Washington had paid his tuition for a summer acting program while he was studying at Howard University. Boseman said, "Many of you already know the story that Mr. Washington, when asked by Phylicia Rashad to join her in assisting 9 theater students from Howard University who had been accepted to a summer actor program at the British Academy of Dramatic Acting in Oxford, he gracefully and privately agreed to contribute. As fate would have it, I was one of the students that he paid for. Imagine receiving the letter that your tuition for that summer was paid for and that your benefactor was none other than the dopest actor on the planet."
As fate would have it, I was one of the students that he paid for. Imagine receiving the letter that your tuition for that summer was paid for and that your benefactor was none other than the dopest actor on the planet.
After Boseman's passing, footage of him giving a powerful commencement speech at his alma mater went viral. His words touched many people deeply. Boseman didn't just follow the path set for him while helping others along the way, he wanted to live a life that would be remembered. One famous part of his legacy is his regular visits to hospitals, especially because of his superhero role. What many didn't know was that he was fighting his own serious health battles in private. For example, Matt Maggard, the father of Hayden Maggard, a boy Boseman visited in the hospital, learned on August 28, 2020, that Boseman had been living with cancer when he met their son. Matt started to cry when he heard the news. He said, "Nobody understands unless they've been there how hard it is to go to St. Jude and see these kids in that state. For a normal, healthy person to take the tour, it's shocking. But for somebody already diagnosed and going through treatment for 2 years to go and face that, I mean, that's just incredible." Boseman grew up in Anderson, South Carolina, with his 2 older brothers, his mother, who was a nurse, and his father, who worked for an agriculture company and also had an upholstery business. Their home was filled with books about culture and history, which Boseman loved to read to learn about inspiring people of color. When he was 12, he read his older brother's copy of the autobiography of Malcolm X. Boseman was talented in drawing and sculpting, and he was also a competitive basketball player who loved to challenge his oldest brother Derek in sports. He looked up to his brother Kevin, who was also involved in dance and acting, and Kevin inspired Boseman's own artistic pursuits. Boseman often sat with his mom at the back of the theater watching his brother Kevin perform. This sparked his love for theater. His interest in drama grew even more in high school when a teammate passed away. To deal with his emotions, Boseman wrote a play. He kept pursuing his passion at Howard University, where he did really well in the directing program. While there, he wrote 2 plays. One of them was Hieroglyphic Graffiti, which was a mix of ancient stories with a modern hip-hop twist.
So, I never wanted to like ever say that until I met him. And, I was doing that Rolling Stone interview, and he asked me about it, and I was like, I think I can say it now. I think I can. I made it. I made it to the point where he's not gonna think I'm trying to get something from him by saying it.
At first, Boseman was studying directing at Howard, but he took an acting workshop with Felicia Rashad. She saw his talent and told him to audition for a summer acting program at Oxford. Rashad also asked Denzel Washington for help, which changed Boseman's life. Washington's support wasn't just financial, it probably influenced Boseman in big ways as well.
I haven't met you yet. And I said, yeah, I gotta tell you something, you pay for me to go to school. He said, oh, so that's why I'm here. You owe me money. I came to class.
That's great.
Oh, man.
That's great, man.
After his time at Oxford, Boseman decided to take acting more seriously. He moved to New York City after finishing school. His parents supported him through film school and even helped with his rent when times got tough. At the beginning of his acting career, Boseman got roles in soap operas, but he felt like the characters were stereotypical. When he asked the network bosses about the character's background and reasons, they thought he was being difficult and let him go. After that, Boseman was picky about the roles he took. He wanted to play characters he could be proud of and whose stories were important. This choice took a while to pay off, but it finally did when he got the lead role in 42, playing Jackie Robinson.
Boseman also portraying black icons like Jackie Robinson, James Brown, and Thurgood Marshall. His passing coming on the same day Major League Baseball honored the real Jackie Robinson.
Boseman put a lot of effort into his roles. He learned baseball to be like Jackie Robinson in 42 and danced like James Brown in Get On Up. He also played Thurgood Marshall and then T'Challa in Black Panther. Even as a superhero, Boseman wanted T'Challa to feel real. One big thing he fought for was using an African accent for T'Challa, even though Marvel wanted an English or American accent. Boseman said, "It felt to me like a deal breaker. I was like, no, this is such an important factor that if we lose this right now, what else are we going to throw away for the sake of making people feel comfortable?"
A watershed moment for African American filmmakers and audiences alike.
After Black Panther came out, it quickly became the most successful superhero movie ever in the United States. Even with all the attention and offers coming his way, Boseman stayed careful about the projects he picked. He wanted to tell important stories with his roles. Boseman said to Hunger magazine in 2017, "You become more selective because you realize how much it takes out of you." He explained how acting can be tiring both mentally and physically. Some days you come home feeling drained because you've been living in someone else's shoes all day. It can be tough, and sometimes it leaves a mark on you. By the end of it, you just wanted to let go of that weight. People also talked about the idea that Boseman passed away right after winning an Oscar, which made some think about the Oscar curse. Denzel Washington has spoken about this too. Like Boseman, Denzel has been working to change stereotypes about black people through his roles for a long time. It seems like Boseman might have learned a lot from Denzel over the years. Washington has been open about the racism he faced in Hollywood, from being ignored at big award shows to dealing with discrimination while filming in the U.S., and even being called racial slurs.
Do you think that we can truly make change as things are right now?
Well, it starts in the home. You know, if the father's not in the home, the boy will find the father in the streets. Yeah, I saw it in my generation and every generation before me and everyone since. It starts in the home. You know, if the streets raise you, then the judge becomes your mother. And
This year, the Oscars were full of Hollywood's biggest stars, all hoping to win the famous Academy Award, which is like the ultimate prize in movies. Winning an Oscar can make an actor super famous all over the world and open up lots of new opportunities. But behind all the glitz and glamour of the golden statues, there's talk of something darker: the Oscars curse. It's interesting to see how many actors from Hattie McDaniel to Morgan Freeman have been affected by this curse. What's even more surprising is that many black actors seem to have a tough time with it. The Academy often likes serious, dramatic performances, which they call Oscar bait. And that can make it hard for black actors who are great at comedy. Even when they do serious roles, black actors often get typecast as slaves, people in dresses, or characters dealing with oppression. It's a narrow and kind of limiting way to portray them. Take Eddie Murphy, for example. He's only been nominated for an Oscar once for his role in Dreamgirls. But he said in interviews that he might not have tried as hard in that movie as he does in his funny roles. Let's talk about Eddie Murphy's role in The Nutty Professor. In that movie, he played the whole Clump family, using makeup and special effects. He did something similar in the Coming to America movies, especially in the famous scene at the barbershop.
Turn the heat up. Back there it's nice and warm, but over here, ooh, it's cold as hell and freezing. This is very nice.
In a chat with Craig Brewer, the director of Coming to America, on the Real Blend podcast, they talked about how Eddie Murphy keeps getting ignored by the Academy Awards. Brewer shared his thoughts on why this keeps happening. He said, "It really bothers me, and I think it's even worse for Eddie because people think what he does is easy. I'm sure there are parts of Eddie's life that are easy, but what people don't see is him in makeup, listening to music, rehearsing lines. He takes his work seriously. When you see him on the set, he's not fooling around. Between takes, he's focused, rehearsing his lines. There's a lot of skill there. I worry that people just think Eddie's funny without realizing the effort he puts in. Yes, he's funny, but it's not as simple as flipping a switch."
One of the greatest, funniest people of all time was George Carlin, and he received this award posthumously.
Fans think it's not fair how the Academy ignores comedians, and Eddie Murphy isn't the only funny person who gets left out. Someone online said, "Hollywood isn't known for fairness. The Oscars sometimes miss great movies like Heat in 1995, which had an amazing gunfight scene but didn't get nominated." Another person added, "For award shows, it's also about who spends the most money to impress the judges, like Weinstein did. And let's not forget the problem with child actors and maltreatment." Craig Brewer talked about Kevin Kline winning an Oscar for A Fish Called Wanda as an example. But for every win like that, there are lots of great comedic performances like Kristen Wiig's or Jim Carrey's that don't even get considered.
Make these films so great. The comedy is funny because the drama's real. And I think that at the end of the day, Coming to America is about family, especially this one, considering his daughter's in the movie.
I'm very pleased that you mentioned that.
Brewer also said that when you talk to serious actors, they often agree that comedy is harder. Unlike drama, you don't get instant feedback from the audience laughing. Comedians need to understand timing and connect with an audience who aren't there in person. Brewer thinks comedy takes more skill and thought than some dramatic roles, where actors can rely more on showing emotions directly. The Oscars have faced criticism for not including black actors enough, and there have been some big controversies. One time was in 2019 when Kevin Hart had to quit as the host because of some old tweets people found that were homophobic. Plus, the #OscarsSoWhite movement is asking for more diversity and for people of color and other marginalized groups to get recognized in the industry. Some people say that Hollywood's famous Walk of Fame now feels more like a Walk of Shame because it doesn't have enough stars from diverse backgrounds. Back in the 1940s, actress Hattie McDaniel won an Oscar for Best Supporting Actress in Gone with the Wind. It was a huge deal because she was the first African American person to win such a big award. But even though it should have been a happy moment, she wasn't treated the same as everyone else at the ceremony. It was a whites-only event, so instead of celebrating, there was more talk about segregation than anything else.
I sincerely hope I shall always be a credit to my race and to the motion picture industry. My heart is too full to tell you just how I feel.
80 years have passed, but the film industry still deals with discrimination. Even though there's been some progress in including more diverse voices, the 2020 Oscars had some racial controversies, which sadly aren't uncommon anymore. And it's not just viewers who notice. People working in the industry see it too. Notable snubs, like Lupita Nyong'o, not getting recognized for her amazing role in Us in 2019, show how big this problem is. Eddie Murphy has talked about why this discrimination happens. He says it's because of sneaky contracts. Apparently, actors sign these contracts, and then if they win an Oscar, they might end up selling out. It's not just one person saying this. There are lots of stories from people warning others about getting too close to the big shots in Hollywood. Denzel Washington is one of them. He didn't name names, but he started a conversation about how some people in the industry act like they're better than everyone else. He thinks people are getting tired of Hollywood elites who act like they know everything. Washington called out those in the industry who get on stage to pat themselves on the back and give advice while living in big fancy houses. But not all famous people act like that. Denzel Washington, for example, focuses on what really matters in his life, and he's not happy with how some of his colleagues behave. Even though Denzel has won an Oscar, he doesn't think acting is super hard. He's even compared it to jobs like being a garbage man or facing challenges of war. Just like Eddie and Denzel, other stars have also spoken up about strange things happening in Hollywood. Cat Williams, a comedian, took a more direct approach. He recently made some pointed comments about Jamie Foxx, suggesting that Foxx might have done things just to win an award. But that's not all Williams had to say about Foxx. About 10 years ago, during a show in Los Angeles, Cat Williams talked openly about a rumor involving Jamie Foxx's orientation. He didn't hold back, saying, "Who's gay? Jamie Foxx?" Williams even mentioned a name, claiming, "I can even tell you the name of the guy he was with. His name is Marcus Anthony. He's the only guy signed to Jamie Foxx's label." Then Williams went on to say a lot more negative things about Foxx. He used strong language, saying things like, "Forget Jamie Foxx and the money he got from Django Unchained." He also said, "They gave me the script and I said, any guy who does this should pass away." And the next thing I knew, Jamie Foxx was getting ready for the movie. After that, Williams accused Foxx of making big sacrifices just to win an Oscar.
Hollywood, and the reason you don't know these stories is there's no one to tell you these stories.
I know all the comedians and actors' secrets. Who's gay? Jamie Foxx.
Cat Williams seemed to think that Jamie Foxx's journey to success had been tough, and he wondered if Foxx had to give up something important along the way. Jamie Foxx is a talented guy who started out doing funny sketches and then moved into acting, eventually winning an Academy Award for his work. But maybe things weren't as simple as Cat Williams made them out to be. Some reports say that Jamie Foxx didn't take his Oscar nomination seriously at first. Like many newbies in the industry, he didn't think he had a chance against other nominees who'd been around longer. But it turns out the people who made the big decisions in Hollywood might have had a plan all along. It felt like winning an Oscar was impossible for me. When I was up for it, I didn't really think it was a big deal, Foxx said. I thought, there's no way I'm going to win that thing. I saw Oscar time as a reason to have fun. I was like, oh, I'm nominated. Let's celebrate with champagne and party. I remember the first time I had all those photographers following me. I went a bit crazy at the Golden Globes. I had some champagne, and I acted pretty silly on the red carpet. Looking back, I realized I wasn't showing enough respect to the whole thing. Foxx talked about going to the show with a friend and being nominated for a lot of awards that year. On the red carpet, they were shouting about how many awards they were up for that night, which looking back seemed kind of immature. His publicist called him and told him off, saying, "What are you doing? Can't you see how embarrassing this is? You have a chance, but you need to act differently." Looking back, it seems like getting nominated was the industry's way of preparing Jamie Foxx for what was to come. It was like he was on the edge of joining the top players in the industry.
Cherish life, man. I cannot tell you. I had some people in my life that really made sure I was here because it was dire straits.
The first person to step in and guide Jamie Foxx in the direction the industry wanted was a big shot media mogul. She personally reached out to Foxx and gave him a straight talk. saying he was messing up. She told me, "You have a great chance to do something amazing, but not if you keep acting like this." Foxx said this media boss had a plan. She invited Jamie Foxx to a party at Quincy Jones's house, where he got to meet actors and actresses he looked up to since he was young. They praised his work and congratulated him, but the real reason the media boss brought him there was to meet someone specific, Sidney Poitier. Standing in a fancy suit in the corner was Sidney Poitier, Foxx said. "I went up to him and he said, 'I watched your performance and it made me feel taller. I'll leave you with one thing, responsibility.'" After meeting Sidney Poitier, Jamie Foxx's career took off with lots of big awards and success. But even with all that, he still got caught up in a scandal and ended up in the hospital. It shows that even someone like Foxx isn't immune to the influence of powerful people in the industry.
I take things differently now because you just don't know.
The big shots in the industry have also tried to mess up the careers of actors who tried to break free from their control, like Cuba Gooding. His story is a bit different from the usual tales you hear about famous people. The Hollywood boss has not only hurt his popularity, but also messed up his life outside of show business. But it's important to mention that Gooding had a hand in his own downfall too. Back in the late 1990s and early 2000s, Cuba Gooding was a big deal in Hollywood. He got noticed for his roles in TV shows like Hill Street Blues and MacGyver. He really hit it big with his part in John Singleton's movie Boys in the Hood in 1997. Cuba Gooding Jr. won an Oscar for his role in Jerry Maguire, but almost 20 years later, the Oscars still haven't changed much. After this year's nominees were announced, there wasn't a single actor of color. Variety asked Gooding Jr. what he thought about the #OscarsSoWhite uproar. "You want the awards to be fair. You want different kinds of work to be recognized," Gooding Jr. said to Variety and other reporters at a press event in Pasadena, California. "I was hoping Straight Outta Compton would get something, but discussions like this make people think harder when it's time to pick nominees for next year."
Cuba Gooding Jr. is saying that Jones fabricated his role in any wrongdoing. Gooding is seen with Combs and Jones at a New Year's Eve yacht party, and he states that he didn't spend much time at the gathering. The photo with Jones was framed in a sleazy manner to fit the lawsuit.
Anyway, Cuba Gooding Jr. started having problems in June 2019 when USA Today reported that he was being investigated for allegedly touching a woman in a bar in New York City while he was drunk. After that, Gooding went to the police voluntarily. He got arrested when another woman said he touched her inappropriately at a different club. And there was another claim that he grabbed a woman's breast at a bar in June. This was a big turning point in his career, and like him, it seems Chadwick might have also been affected by the Oscars curse. What's your take on what's really going on? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. That's all for today. We hope you enjoyed that video, and if you did, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more videos like this.